first want to congratulate Dabo and Clemson. You got to give them credit. 20 straight wins is a lot. It's the most in college football, and the guys know how to win, and they hung in there. We gave them a great shot and put a lot of pressure on them. I thought that our team played really, really hard. I was proud of them. This might have been a better atmosphere than Miami. I thought the home crowd gave us a great advantage, and that's not something we've always talked about here, but they were loud from the start to the finish. Our students are unbelievable. There can't be any better student group in America than those students. They come early, and they're so loud every play, and it's 90 degrees, and the fans and the students continued to work throughout the game and really threw Clemson off some. They played in front of bigger venues than this for sure, but the 5 or 6 false start penalties I thought were a lot of the effect of the crowd. So we really, really appreciate the crowd. We played Clemson down to one play, which I don't think anybody thought we would do before the game because they're so good. They're the number 1 team in the country. Like I said, I love this team. I love their fight. I thought we played our most full game. We played every quarter. We still gave up the touchdown right before the half. It was a killer. But Trevor Lawrence made some tremendous plays in that drive. The play down here near our end zone where it should have been a sack, he ends up sprinting out to his left and throwing, and we got 2 guys on the receiver, and he still catches it, which is the one on 3rd down that led to the touchdown. But I think he overcame 3 third downs and 5 or more in that drive. So he's a tremendous player for sure. The good thing is we can do better. We can play better than we played Saturday. And there's a lot of things that we could have done that we didn't do, and that's something that we should continue to build on. But I love their hearts. We're really improving. We're in great shape, but they haven't had excuses about young people, and they haven't had excuses about injuries or schedule. And we've played some really good teams that have been emotional games for us. So I like the fact that they just keep playing and have not had excuses. We've asked them to be aggressive, so I'm going to be aggressive because we got to start winning again. We got to finish to do that. So on the 4th and 1, people who question why we went for it, our defense was worn out and had a bunch of guys hurt, and so you go for the 4th and 1 to try to stay on the field because every snap that Trevor Lawrence is on the boundary or ETN is a win for us. So we were disappointed that we didn't make 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. And that gave them a shorter field. I think they started around the 35 or 40 on the other end, and that led to a score. But if we had the same situation again, we'd go for it. That's what we said going into the game with the kids. We were going to be aggressive, wanted them to be aggressive. 2-point play, absolutely, 100% go for it again. We had 3 to 5 guys out on defense. It hurt us when they called the timeout because they had 10 on the field because that saved them more clock. We were trying to get the clock down under a minute, and they only had 1 timeout left. So we thought our best advantage would be take 1 play to win and then try to hold them from a field goal because we had not kicked it off well. They were returning it to the 35 or 40. Trevor can beat you with his arm and his legs. He's a lot like a Vince Young because you can't stop the guy. That's why he's never lost a game as a starting quarterback. So we felt like a 1-play shot was better than taking a chance and then taking a chance on having them kick a field goal because they already missed one, then taking a depleted defense into overtime. And the play that we ran was zone read. You got an opportunity to hand it to Javonte Williams. You got an opportunity for your quarterback to keep it, or you got an opportunity to pitch it to Daz Newsome. All 3 really good players. So when the play call doesn't work, the play caller gets criticized. Even my 8-year-old grandson said, "Why that play, Pops?" So I said, "Okay, Tyler, let it go, bud." But even he said it. So, but you only run about 4 plays down there, and you can move your quarterback and throw with a rub-type play. You can throw a fade to a receiver. You can run some kind of trick play, but there's not a lot of room for it. So you get down to where there are 3 or 4 different things you can do, and that was one of them that we picked, and it didn't work. We started true freshmen on defense, and even when Cam Kelly got hurt on his really strong tackle on Trevor Lawrence, Don Chapman came in and did a really good job. So we're just coaches are doing a good job of again, not whining and not questioning who's in, just putting them in. And I thought Jay was really aggressive on Saturday with young guys. He didn't care. He just said, let's go. And he put guys in really good positions. By far the best our linebackers have played. And we had Dominic Ross on the field a lot with Surratt and Gimmel because he's a really good pass rusher. So that was one change we made for this game, and we put more pressure on the quarterback than we have. Offensively, I thought the offensive line, who's been criticized a lot for being soft, did a good job. We outrushed Clemson, and nobody would have thought that going into the game either. So they protected better, and it's the same five. So it helped us that Charlie Heck was back, even though he had his hand in a cast and he had a thumb and a finger free. But he's tough guy to come out there and play as well as he did. So after 5 games that have all come down to the last series of the game, you look back up, and what it looks like to me is we've played hard all 5 weeks. We've played with more emotion against South Carolina and with Miami and with Clemson than we did Wake or App State. So what we've started doing is talking about us. We're the ones that need to play hard every week. We're the ones that have to play to a standard, and not talking about who we're playing, because we've been up and down with our emotion, and we're not good enough to do that. We're not experienced enough to do that, and we've got to learn to finish these games, and we've got to finish them better than we are. At the same time, all of our goals are still out there. We can still go to a bowl. We can still win the Coastal. We can still have a chance to play probably Clemson in the ACC championship again, and that would be our goal. That hadn't changed, but we got a lot of work to do before we get to that point, and we've got to practice better. We had our best practices last week, and that was starting on Sunday, and yesterday was good. So we've got to start doing things on a day-to-day basis better, and not be the up and down team. Jeff Collins is a really good choice in my estimation at Georgia Tech. He's been there. He knows the place. He brings a lot of energy. They're coming off a couple of tough games like we are. It's an interesting note when you go back and look that we've won in Atlanta 1 time since our last game here. So it's been a very, very difficult place for us to play. I think we won 28-20 on a Thursday night against George O'Leary's team before we played Florida State the next weekend, number 1 Florida State. The only other time that Carolina has won in Atlanta against Georgia Tech is 2015, and that was 38-31, a tough game with our best team through that decade, winning 11 games. So for whatever reason, we have not played well against Georgia Tech in Atlanta. As every other game has come down to the last drive of the game, why would I think anything different? So we got to prepare our guys to make sure that we play well. I'm also proud of our coaches. Our coaches are working really, really hard to work with these guys to put them in the right place to win. As I said, I thought Jay was more aggressive on Saturday and took chances, and then you've got Storm Duck, who held up at corner for most of the day, and Trey Morrison played well. Cam Kelly and Don Chapman did a good job inside. So those guys all played well, and that's coaching. And then on offense, they started huddling up some. They tried to keep our offensive line more rested. They tried to make sure Sam had the right call. And I thought the changes and adjustments that we made for this game for Clemson helped us offensively as well. Still got to do a better job in the kicking game. You saw what Ben Kiernan can do. I mean, he hit a 63-yard punt. But we've got to start returning punts better. We got close to a couple of blocks, but we didn't get there, and we thought we had to get something in the kicking game to beat Clemson. And our kickoff coverage was not very good, which was another thing that really concerned me as we got toward the end of the game. So we got to get ready to play is the biggest thing. Questions?
Matt, one of the players said that you all have played to the level of your competition. So this Saturday, would you like to see your team win handily, or what would you like to see?
I'd like to see our team win, period. The players say that. Wake Forest is undefeated in the top 25, and they were really good competition, and we didn't play up to that level in that game. Appalachian's undefeated. So I think that the guys know that they didn't have as much passion in those 2 games as they did the other 3, and the other 3 we played better in. So I think that's probably what they're saying, that we have to be us and we have to play with passion to have a chance to win.
In addition to the reasons you gave about going for 2, it was also part of it continuing to establish sort of a mindset that you want in the program. And was it also sending a message to kids that you want to be a part of this program?
Absolutely. We're going to be aggressive. I'm at a stage in my life where I don't care about anything but winning and doing it within the rules. So if anybody wants to criticize me, who cares? I don't care. I'm not looking for another job. So I think the biggest thing is that it's freedom to be this age and to have won this many games and be able to do what you think is best for your team. And the interesting thing is I'm the only one that sat there and knew how our defense looked and how they felt. I'm the only one that watched the offense and the offensive coaches that felt like they had a play that they thought was going to win the game. Nobody else has that. So anybody else that's making decisions on what I should have done doesn't have the information I have. So that's why it's kind of comical when people say, I wouldn't have done that. Well, you got no clue. I mean, you had no information. So you wouldn't have done it after we lost. You would have done it if we'd have won. I'd have been coach of the year. So I don't care about that stuff anymore. But for the kids, I want them to know I came back to help them win. And I'm not going to it would have been less criticism on me if I'd kicked the extra point and let it play out. Then if we lose, we just were a little short. I wanted to win.
Do you find that that's doing that is instilling confidence in them, telling them you believe in them at that moment? Because a couple of them said afterward that actually that's how they perceived it. That we believed in them 100%. Let's go get the win. We're not playing these guys to tie.
No.
To go to overtime. We're playing to win now.
No, I don't care what the score is. So if we're behind, I'm gonna keep taking risks to try to catch up. If it makes the score 2 more touchdowns down, I don't care. It's all about winning, and we need to start winning. And if I'm going to be passive, then they're going to be passive. And we've had a tough couple of years around here. We're off to a good start in my estimation because we're fighting every week, and now we got to finish these things and win. But the message to them was absolutely we're coming to win. We're not coming to lay up. When we won the national championship in 2005, our theme was from Harvey Pinnock, take dead aim. And it meant take dead aim at the national championship, and anything less than that wasn't going to be any good. We couldn't be second. And that's kind of the attitude I got with this team. Let's go. Let's go for it. Got to win some games. And recruits have been, the response from the recruits has been unbelievable. Every recruit said, man, I love it. I'd have gone for 2. So that's important too. What else?
Mack, you were clear the other night about no moral victories. You got to learn to win. So at the same time, there is sort of the lessons you take away of these guys should feel good about, a really great effort in that kind of game against that type of opponent. How do you sort of balance that going forward with these guys and sort of make sure they take something from that even in a loss?
Yeah, Aaron, it's a great question, and there is a balance there. But I told them I'm proud that you fought to the end. They didn't feel good. At the end, they were really disappointed in the dressing room. It was a sad dressing room, and that's a good thing. But they see what we're capable of, and now they got to build on it. So will we come back and have a great practice Tuesday? Because we need to improve as a team, and that's the biggest question right now. Is we've been this way for 5 weeks. We got to be this way, and as long as we're this way, we'll be fine. And we cannot let the injuries that we've had that are more than I've ever seen. I think we had 15 starters. We lost my last year at Texas, so it's not more than I've ever seen. It's in the ballpark. But we cannot let that derail us. We've just got to keep playing. And when you lose an older one, you hate it for them, but that lets younger ones play, and that helps you for the future. If you lose a younger one, then you got some other young ones that have to play. So if we don't have Cam, then you got to have other safeties. Hollins has got to step up, and Giovanni's got to step up, and that's the way it was for Chapman and Cam last week. So it's part of the process.
Mack, you mentioned the up and down aspect. Last week you said that, of course, the guys would get up for Clemson. Georgia Tech's 1-3. What needs to take place to make sure the guys practice at the same level they did last year?
Greg, we've got to be about us. I think I've talked too much about the opponents. And in my previous life, I didn't do that. It's all about us. It's got to be about us getting better. It's got to be about us having fun. It's got to be us playing aggressively to win every week, regardless of who we play. And you could see we were ready to play. The first play of the game, we hand it to Michael Carter, and he runs right up the middle, and we make 8 yards. First play of the game at Wake Forest, they hand it off, and they make 8 yards, running right at us and hit us in the face. So I used to tell Sally, look and see who runs the ball the best in the first quarter, and you can usually tell who's going to win a game if somebody doesn't mess it up. And we were running the ball better, so that gave us a chance to win the game. So if you're not ready to play, we're not good enough not to be ready to play and beat anybody, period. We just can't do that. So and there's a difference. It's really hard for people outside of the business, I think, to understand they can play hard but not with passion. So they're a little more high. They're not down in their stance. They're not getting the first hit. They're catching a little bit. They're playing hard, but they're just not as ready to go. They're not as focused. And last week was the best practice this bunch has ever had since I've been here. I mean, they were perfect, and that's what we got to be. So it'll be a big challenge this week to see if they'll come off of the high and go back and stand around. And if you do, then you're in trouble. Or if you go back to work. And yesterday I said before practice, there is a standard that we expect for you to practice to. So it's on our coach, it's on me, our coaches, and our players to work to that standard this week. And we're going to be all over them. We're going to be like they played bad Saturday. Because this is what we've got to be. We've got to become the team that's angry every week and wants to do the best that we can do, not go like this, go like the wind. And right now we're a little bit like the wind.
Coach, you said no moral victories on Saturday, but it seems like building off that is just, I mean, it wasn't obviously a win, but building off the performance is something you really take away from it. Is that kind of accurate in how you approach it?
Yes, Ross. I think the thing that you look at is that if we lay down and don't play after this, then we didn't learn. If we use it again to continue to grow and build, then we've really learned something. It did send a message to our fan base that we're headed in the right direction. It did send a message to recruits that if we can get Clemson down to one play, we're going to be good in the future. So if you better jump on now, because this train's taking off. So if you want to be part of this, come on. And if you get beat 45-10, that's a hard message. So I think everything came out of Saturday good, except we lost by 1 point.
What went into the decision to play Heck? Is it just the fact that you wrapped it up and it was good to go, or what was kind of behind that? Sometimes they use a club.
Yeah. There were two things. Number one, could he handle the pain? And last week he could not have. They say that pain is not as bad in 10 days as it is the first week. So that's part of it. And he played with a broken hand at Wake Forest. I think he got it hurt really early in the game, and he wasn't coming out. And the second thing is we asked the doctors, number one, can he damage it any more by playing? And they said absolutely not. So it was totally up to Charlie whether he felt like, number one, he could play with that pain, and could he be effective with 2 fingers free in a cast. And he did really well. He's a tough sucker. I told him after the game, good for you. Most guys, top pro prospects, would not play. They just lay out the rest of the year, and that was never a decision for him. In fact, it helped so much that he was in the huddle and out there with those younger ones, because he's really the leader after we lost Nick. That was our 2 leaders, and we didn't have either one of them for Appalachian State, and it really hurt us. So he was a key factor just being back out there, much less playing.
You talked about how that week was going to be big for these NFL guys, for him specifically to go out there and play through that. I mean, is that something you'll kind of point to NFL guys when they go and look at him down the road, I guess?
Absolutely. Again, he could have laid down. I mean, it would have been safer and easier for him not to play. And he's playing against the best talent in the country, and it's good for them to see him play against the best talent in the country when he didn't have to with one hand. So I think he really, really helped his stock on Saturday.
Was using 3 linebackers something more specific to this game than aside from that, what do you like about having 3 linebackers on the field? How does it sort of change Coach Bateman's approach?
Andrew, the thing we're trying to do is get the best players on the field. And right now, Gimmel and Surratt are playing so well, and Dominic Ross has started playing really well. And Dominic is a better pass rusher than some of our other guys, and we've got to get more pressure on the passer. So we felt like with his speed in space, he made a great play in space on a screen once where he wrapped him up and tackled him, which is a hard thing to do. Gimmel was way to the left and sprinted all the way to the right on an out route on a 3rd down and knocked it out of bounds. And Surratt was all over the field. So those 3 guys right now are playing at such a high level, we just feel like that we don't have a lot of depth, so we've got to get the best 11 out there every play that we can.
Mack, you just mentioned getting the best 11 out there, but you started 3 true freshmen on defense on Saturday. How do you think they performed, and is that really what that was about? I know, obviously, Miles Winkel was out, so that's probably the reason Cam Kelly ended up getting the start, but how do you think they performed, and are those guys slowly becoming maybe the best options you have to going forward on defense?
Tamari Fox has been playing a lot. He had some trouble with his own read. We finally said at some point, take one of them. Take the back or the quarterback. Let's be decisive here. Let's don't let them both make yards. But he's going to be a really good player and plays hard every play. He's playing so much we had to take him off special teams because he was on kickoff return as the middle wedge guy. And then we think Storm Duck will be really good in time. He just hadn't played any. And he had a mistake down here on the deep touchdown pass, but he played really, really well. And then Cam and Chapman were alternating with Wolfak out. And Miles Dorn was a hero in the game. He played both. He just changed safeties. When Chapman would come in, he'd go to the other safety, and when Cam would come in, he'd go back, and he was kind of directing them throughout. But we feel like that we're going to play the best athletes that are giving us the best effort in practice, and we don't care about age.
You guys are up to, I think, 13th nationally in penalty yardage now. How do you coach that out of a team?
The biggest thing is discipline. And from day one, we said, clean up your locker room, clean up your table at the cafeteria when you get through. Make sure that you're on time to every meeting. Make sure that you're in class. Every day they have class. And then we have ACC officials at every practice. They throw a flag and we mark it off anytime there's a penalty, and they call out the name. And then we keep a running sheet of how many penalties they've had since we've been here and talk to them about it. So it's to be able to help alleviate penalties, you've got to really pay attention to it.
Is there a lot of penalty for the guys after? I mean, are they doing extra running, that sort of thing?
No.
Or just off the field?
No, we're telling them that you better be playing really, really good if you're giving us a penalty, because if you're going to cost us and you're not playing well, you're not going to play. Everything we've talked about is earning the right to play. And what we talked about with them Saturday was earning the respect. You're on ABC, you're on national TV. Millions of people are going to watch you. People think you're soft. People don't think you can win. So big guy in the sky don't lie. Either you are soft or you're not. Either you earn the respect of people or you don't. That's up to you. But here's a great opportunity, because it's the biggest challenge we got all year. It's a great opportunity for you to step up and show people that this is different. And they did that.
Looking forward, what have you kind of seen out of Georgia Tech as they've kind of adjusted from running the triple option as they have the last few years?
Jeff's done a really good job. I thought he would go pro style and just change it all, and he's not. He kept enough of the option principles in there that he's doing both. And I think that's really, really smart on his part. And like us, they're going to get better every week. He ran into a buzzsaw last week. After their win, they're kind of like us. They didn't play as well against after they beat South Florida, they didn't play as well against Citadel, because that's one of those where you kind of yawn, then you stand around, the game's close at the end, and, oh, my gosh, then they kick a field goal to beat you. Because they weren't as emotionally prepared. Last week was a complete ambush, because I've done that. But Jeff going back to Temple, right after he recruited all those players, they were going to be after him. So that one was one that when I came back in here, it wasn't a lot of fun. There were a lot of people that'd like to beat us. So I knew that was going to be a tough one for him. But they'll be ready to play. And why have we not played well in Atlanta for 22 years? I don't know. 11 of those 22, 10 of those 22 haven't been good. So that's a weird thing in sports, but you never know why some people have trouble at some places and others don't. We had trouble at Kansas State when I was at Texas. I don't know why. I used to ask them to move the game to Kansas City, and they wouldn't do it. So it was other questions.
As the defensive game plan was coming together last week, is there kind of an aha moment where you guys are seeing something that you think maybe other people aren't seeing, or what's the thought process when you're putting that together?
Well, when you're playing a Clemson, what they do, they're so good outside with those big, tall, fast receivers that you got ETN and there's 3 seniors, a graduate, and a sophomore on that offensive line. So it's an older, experienced offensive line. It's really tough. So that's what they do. It's pick your poison. If you spread out and try to zone and cover the receivers, they're going to run ETN and Lawrence till the game's over. So you can have a slow death, or you can pack them in and try to slow down those two, and then they're going to throw to the tall guys one-on-one, and you get killed by the pass because they can have 13 negative plays and throw a deep ball to a tall guy and score and be up 21-0, and you're playing good. So our decision was to try to disguise enough to make it look like we were going to have a zone coverage and then come after them. And we were a little bit late on a couple of safety blitzes that we had, but by and large, I thought there was some confusion for Clemson, and our guys did a really good job of showing one thing and playing another, especially as young as we were in that secondary. 2 true freshmen back there. I thought our guys did an amazing job.
What was the explanation you got from the refs on the play where the play was blown dead, but then Sam kind of got hit by the defense?
I got none. He said he didn't see it. I said, well, look, it's up there.
You guys good?
One more question, Coach, before I let you go. I got to ask a question for my news friends, something that's blowing up. This morning, California passed the bill to allow student athletes to gain finances, I guess, off of endorsements and things like that or whatever. What do you think about that bill being passed and the direction of the NCAA and college athletes getting paid?
I really don't understand enough about it. Like all coaches, I want every advantage for the student athlete that we can give them. Now, cost of attendance was huge. So they're getting money now that they've never gotten before. I got $15 a month when I was in school, and that was called laundry money. And nobody washed their clothes anyway, so that was cash, it was heavy cash. Now you've got cost of attendance, which is really good. It's a lot of money every month for the guys. I get confused on what this means. And before it would go into place, I'd love to have somebody explain to me, does the third team right guard get as much money as a star quarterback? I don't know. I get confused on how that's going to work and how it's going to happen. So I think it's really, really important for the NCAA and college football to define exactly what that means before we do it, because we got a little bit of wild, wild west out there right now, and we're just doing some things that aren't always, to me, thought out. If you think about the 4-game redshirt rule, coaches wanted that in, and this sounds like a different subject. It's really not, but coaches wanted that in so at the end of the year they could play freshmen in 4 games and still redshirt them if they got everybody hurt and didn't have enough people to cover kicks, or if you blew somebody out, you could put them in and let them have some experience. We thought that was a great rule. It wasn't for young guys to sit around and wait till their 4th game is over and decide whether they wanted to stay with that team or not, or transfer or not. The graduate transfer rule, that was put in only for young people who couldn't find their curriculum for graduate school or couldn't get in the graduate school at their own school, and they could go somewhere else. Now people are graduating in 3 years, so they can just transfer if they're not happy. So I think neither one of those ended up with exactly what we wanted. So with this likeness rule, I think we've really got to be smart and look to see, is it going to be fair across the board to all kids? Vince Young would have made a lot more money than our backup right corner. So is that fair? Does it hurt your team that one player is making so much money off his likeness that it's disruptive with the other guys that don't get to play as much? And then it affects recruiting, because that changes too. Who's getting the biggest dollar for their likeness? So I think there's a lot of things that I need more clear before I could make a decision, even though we want what's best for every student athlete. And at the same time, you want what's best for your teams. And we've got to be careful that this doesn't get so individualized that it starts being about them instead of team.